everyone, Bob the Tomato here. This is Chuck Volmer. He's a concept artist at Big Idea. He specializes in creating the amazing background paintings for our shows. Today, he's going to show you how to draw Minnesota Cuke.
All right, today we're going to be drawing Minnesota Cuke from our new DVD. We're going to start out with a simple oval shape, the general basic shape of Larry, the cucumber here. I tend to work fairly loose at the beginning as I find the general shapes and where they belong, and then as we get a little further into it, we'll put the detail in and tighten it up a bit. We'll put down a center line lightly, and then I like to put in next a line that kind of roughly indicates where his eyes will fall, and then that helps me with the rest proportions of his body. Put it in the nose lightly, and again back to the eyes. His eyes are almost egg-shaped in a way. Make the one just a little higher than the other. Tends to give Minnesota Cuke a little bit more of a comical look. Put in his pupils, which are circles. Next, we'll put on his hat, which is like a hat is like a tube that will sit down on his head. So I'll draw kind of a semicircle around his head, and then the tube that would sit down on top of that. It helps kind of give it a little dimension. Now we're going to put the brim of the hat. We're going to put it off kilter just a little bit. Makes him look a little more heroic. Bring this across again. It's kind of a curve to it. And we'll bring this line here down behind as it goes around behind his head. Once we have this roughed in, put the band of the hat. Again, that's wrapping around his head. Put the band of the hat on there. We can go ahead and move now back to his mouth. And Minnesota Cuke is a happy guy, so we're going to give him a nice smile. Put his tooth in there, which is basically just a square. Now we're going to put on his shirt and jacket. Go ahead by making a V shape kind of in the center of his body, and that's where the shirt is going to come down, and we'll go ahead then and start the collar. And the collar will again wrap around his body like so. Put a little bit of the collar. We're not going to draw all the collar because he's also wearing a jacket. So the jacket will go on over top of his shirt, like so. Bring it down again in front of his body. This would be the bottom. Still working pretty loose. So right now I'm just trying to find out roughly the distance between the top of the jacket, the bottom of the jacket, and the bottom of Larry's body. If I make a mistake at this stage, it's real easy to go back and erase and adjust things later. Go back to his jacket. And the jacket also has a collar. It sticks out a little bit. We'll wrap that collar around his body, and we'll go over here to the other side. Wrap that collar around. Now we're going to draw the jacket out away from what the actual part of his body would be, because it's a little bit bulkier and would hang off of him a little bit. So put the jacket out here a little further, like this. And I'm curving these bottom lines again. If you were to draw an imaginary line going back and kind of again another egg shape as though it's going around his body, it gives the illusion of the jacket wrapping around him. And then we'll go back into the shirt, which is underneath, and draw the front of the shirt down. And at the base of his shirt, he has his belt on, even though he doesn't have any pants on. We're going to go ahead and give him a belt. It's just a square and another square within the square. We put a little flattened circle in there. The belt itself. And now we have it loosely sketched out, we can go ahead and do the fun part, which is adding the details. We can go ahead and add the zipper to the jacket. Have that sticking out, and then we're going to put the zipper in, which is just following the outside line here of the jacket. The base of his jacket, got some of that stretchy material. Put that in on both sides. Just draw little lines like this. There's 2 pockets, which are basically just squares. You can round the bottom of the square off at the bottom. It makes it look more pocket-like, I guess. You can go back and work on his face now. Now that everything fits nicely, we can go in and put a little highlight in his eye, which is a small circle within the pupil of his eye. 2 little circles, and then we can go ahead and put the nice dark line in. This dark line for his eyes, outside of his eyes. Get his nose. Look at the outside of his body here. Thicken that up. On his shirt collar, a fun thing to do is to start the line just a little past his body and then bring it in like so. And again, that gives you the illusion that the shirt is wrapping around him rather than just stopping at the side of his body. Again, we start out a little away from it and come in. It kind of feels like he's actually wearing the shirt rather than it being flatly painted onto him. We'll get the jacket. This jacket's looking pretty good. We'll put a couple buttons on his shirt. We'll thicken up the inside line of his shirt. Now we need to add some finishing touches to his hat. We'll go back to the band of his hat, thicken that up a little bit. Do the top of his hat. We'll round off some of the edges so it gives his hat a little bit more of a worn look, like he's had this for quite a while. It's nice and broken in. Put a little line here. It's kind of a flattened V a little bit, and that kind of makes it feel like the hat in this area has been crunched down a little bit. We'll finish the brim of his hat. Bring that around, as though it's going around behind him to the front. Do the final line on the bottom of his body. Like so. And then what we can do is just go back and with an eraser and lightly go back and just take out some of those construction lines that we put in at the very beginning to help us to build him. And that's all right. And once we do that in a few places, he looks pretty good. I think we're just about done. There, Minnesota Cuke. If I went too fast, or if there's something you missed or would like to try again, feel free to go back and rewind the DVD and take a look at it again and watch as many times as you need. And have a good time drawing Minnesota Cuke.